Here it is, May 10th, 2024, and I'm setting up for another flight in my little Hummel Ultracruiser. I just started it, as you can see, and taxiing out to take off. This is Johnsonville in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I'll try not to bore you with too much warm-up stuff, but it has to warm up a little bit. The temperature is about 65, 66 degrees. It's an overcast day. Pretty nice, really, for flying. The sun's not so bright and all. I will have one new thing to show you. On the right-hand side, you'll see in just a minute. It's my wife's old phone that I loaded Avere on. Avere is a free program to show you where you are in real time. It overlays an aviation map, so it has a GPS. You can tell it where you want to go, and it'll give you the line, just like a Garmin. And it's a free download. There it is, right there. It's really pretty neat. And I replaced my old GPS with that. This is much more. It's much prettier to look at when you're flying along. And of course, my timer there is a wristwatch attached to the dash. So we'll let it warm up a second. We'll see what happens. Today I'm taking a flight to my hometown of Saluda, which is about 8 miles south of Hendersonville. My wife and I moved there about 5 years ago. Built a house, and it's really nice. And mountain country, always cool. So we're going to take a little look at that little town from the air. Thought you guys might want to see that. Of course, this flight looks much like the previous one, as you might remember. And not much I can do about that. But instead of just putting around, I thought I'd go somewhere. So I went to my hometown of Saluda, North Carolina. Here we are on the runway, preparing for takeoff on runway 15. They have been making improvements to the runway. Somebody bought this airport, Johnsonville, and they've been smoothing out the runway, so it's a little bit easier to take off and land. I'm happy for that. And here we are. We're almost underway. There's the parallel airport next to Johnsonville, which is the grass strip. There are two privately owned airports that run parallel to each other, neither of which are all that good. But they're getting better, and as people move into Hendersonville, they're the people who like to fly would like a little bit better accommodations aviation-wise. But it's the best we have right now, so that's what we'll make the best of it. Pretty much heading south now. It's a head-mounted camera, so that's why you see a lot of back and forth as I scan the sky for any kind of traffic or anything. It's some roads below. We'll be paralleling the interstate going south as we fly south to Saluda. Like a lot of pilots around who really have no place to go, I look for the calm days Every few days it's a good day to fly, and I like to fly in the morning because there's usually not much traffic, as well as the air's really smooth, and so it's a nice ride. And if it's bumpy in an ultralight like this little Hummel Ultracruiser, it'll beat you up pretty badly, and you have to fight the controls to keep everything in place. But on a calm day, in the morning especially, it's just delight to fly. It's like skiing on a lake that has no wind. It's just smooth and nice. You don't even realize you're moving. That's the interstate highway. Right there in the corner on the left there, that's I-26 as we head south. We're at probably about 3,200 feet MSL right now, turning about 3,000 RPM on the 37 horsepower 1/2 VW that I have powering this little guy. Right, you'll see on the right there, right above the wing, that's a quarry that I drive by back and forth to the airport from Saluda, and you can really see it from the air. They mine, I guess you should say, granite there and make rocks of different sizes. And on the road next to this quarry, there's always the big trucks filled up with rocks, and of course they tear up the roads as you expect they would, being so heavy. They make a lot of dust. Now beyond those mountains up ahead is where the coastal plain begins. We're in the escarpment now where Saluda is and where Hendersonville is in Asheville. If you go beyond those mountains, you drop off about 2,000 feet. The elevation at the Johnson Field is 2,200 feet, and if you go down to Landrum, which is straight ahead but beyond those mountains, the elevation's about 500 or 600, I think. So you can really feel the temperature change when you go from Saluda to Tryon or Landrum, because of course as you go down it gets a good bit warmer. That's really the reason we moved up here, is to get some of that cool air. That mountain air is great. And again, we're heading towards Saluda. You can see on the left that the interstate's on our left there. And we're almost to the Green River, passing over the Green River. We're at cruising altitude now, probably around 3,500 feet MSL. That'd be about maybe 1,500 feet above the ground, or 2,000 feet or so. And since my last video, I have put a new magneto in this little plane. The other one was about 10 years old, and I was wondering if it was ever going to give me problems, so I ordered a new one and managed to put it in successfully, and it really runs as good as it ever has since I've done that. Also a new carburetor, and so I'm trying to keep this thing going as long as I can, dependably. because if you fly, you'll know the last thing you want to do is to have an engine out. That's the absolute worst, especially in these mountains. If something were to happen to the engine, I would have to come down. And where in the world would you come down? We're approaching Saluda now. I think it's right on the left there in that little V where the canopy and the wing meet. That's my hometown. It's a small place. Very friendly. There it is. You can see the little curve where the stores are that compose the town, the commercial part of the town. Here's a good look at it. And up in the distance, you can see the interstate where the interchange is there for exit 59 to get off to get to Saluda. Now I'm turning left here because my house is right where the wingtip is. You might see that's the nursing home. We live across the street from the nursing home where the clearing is for the parking. It's also near the cemetery of Saluda. We're heading there in a minute. There it is. You can see it. Cemetery's the green patch right there. And the nursing home is that building that's to the right of it. And we're down in the trees somewhere. Of course, I called my wife when I got home and I said, "Did you hear me flying over the house?" And of course she said no. And so next time I got to figure a way to let her know I'm coming so she can go out and wave at me and see what happens. You can see my airspeed there right under my little watch. We're running about 60 miles an hour, turning about 3,000 RPM, about 3,500 feet. The altimeter's right on the left of those four. And the little flashing light is my oil pressure there. It really is a nice, smooth day for flying. That's the interstate. I-26 below there on the left side. You can see it left of the engine. And several friends of mine have houses all along those mountains. And you can't see them really from the air very well because of the trees, but some of them have just gorgeous views of the mountains. They asked me if I ever fly over their house, and it's hard to find their houses when you're up there. So we're kind of now to the I guess the west of Hendersonville, flying back. Hendersonville over is to our left as we approach. And one reason I like to fly around the Hendersonville area instead of staying in the mountains is if there is an engine problem, there are a lot of clearings and farms and fields. You can put it down in if you have to. The whole area is on an escarpment, I understand. I don't really know. An escarpment apparently is where the mountains move the entire earth up, wherever it is. I think it's a geologic term, but it's pretty much a flat area except for the mountains around it. I guess this would be considered the Hendersonville Valley area. And it's pretty rich dirt. There's a lot of apple trees. It's a lot of apple country. That's what Hendersonville is known for, the Apple Festival. You probably have heard of it. Getting a little bumpy there. You could see there a second ago the GPS, the Avere on my phone, my wife's old phone. You don't need a cell service to use it. It's independent of that. So if all you aviators want to make something happen with your old phones, all you have to do is load it on there. All you need is the GPS signal. It'll do the rest. You don't need a cell service at all. So it's a great size. And I have a little ADSB-in receiver that will tie in wirelessly to that phone, and it shows me traffic that has the ADSB out. And so I can see jets flying overhead a lot of times. I don't even see the jets, but I see where they are on that ADSB receiver that's overlays on the Avere right there on the phone. That's helpful. So you want to see where traffic is. Of course, little planes like mine typically don't have an ADSB out on it, so they can't see me, but I can see them. And I will do everything I can do to avoid any other traffic, of course, and that's why you have this. Because Asheville is up slightly to the left over that little rise. Asheville's beyond that, and they have a good bit of jet traffic coming in there for airlines. Allegiant Air operates out of Asheville. So you want to stay below 4,300 feet MSL in this area, just to stay below their glide path and all that's shown on that Avere program. It shows you the aviation charts and what restricted airspace and altitude requirements and all that. Very helpful. Cut back on the RPM just a little bit to start descending, because this is a short flight, really going no place, and I don't have all that much fuel. You can see my fuel gauge here is a little wire that sticks up right in front of the cockpit there, and as the wire goes down, the fuel goes down. It's very, very primitive, but it works just fine. So I'm turning right toward Hendersonville. It's right there on the left between the canopy and the wing, the V there, slightly up ahead. It's interesting too, after you fly around these areas, you learn where things are. So you know where your landmarks are to help you go back to the airport in case you lose your bearings. We're heading east now. Soon I'll make the turn, the left turn, to line up with runway 15. We're going to land on the same runway we took off, same direction. Because there's no wind today, you can land either 33 or 15, 150 degrees. That's basically south. 33 is basically north. And the prevailing winds typically are up and down 15 and 33. You can count on the winds typically are right up and down the runway, are very close, so there's not a lot of crosswind problems. There's the clover leaf of the interstate. You can see it right there. And that's the commercial part of Hendersonville. Straight ahead, that's where all the fast food restaurants and all that stuff are, the Home Depot and Lowe's and all that stuff. And one of my landmarks is that little piece of water you can see right on the left side there. It's a bog basically. It's wet all the time, and I've been told the beavers are abundant there, and they dam up the streams and make the lake they like. It's one of the landmarks. The airport's right beyond that. You'll see. So I'm preparing for my final turn to set up for the landing back at Johnson Field, the grass strip. Because there's no traffic, I didn't take it upon myself to fly over the runway and do the get into pattern. I just announced on the radio where I was, and that I was going to come straight in if there was no traffic that I had to worry about. And of course, it's a little early, about 8:30 in the morning, so there's not much traffic. There's the bog I was telling you about right there on the left. And of course there's the baseball fields. You can always tell where you are. When you're landing toward the south, you'll have to go over these fields here, the baseball fields, softball fields. I'm running about 65 miles an hour as we descend. I like to go over the fence, I guess you'd say, at around 60 and hold that speed until I round out for the landing. And this plane is so light that if you pull the throttle, it would bring you down right quick. It's got a lot of drag, big wings, big, thick, fat wings. So, getting ready for it now. Still running 60, as you can see there. Okay. Now I'm rounding out for a landing. Bleeding off speed. And even though it's bouncing a little bit, believe me, that's one of the better landings I've done. And I think it might be because the runway is a little smoother than it has been. Before it had moguls in it. Still got some, of course. But you never know if it's your landing is bad or you're hitting a bunch of bumps. Either way, it's not good for the plane or your confidence. So we're going to flip it around and go back and put it up. You can see the windsock there on the left. It is almost dead calm. The windsock, you can see it's completely slack. Heading for the hangar. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little flight. It's much like the last one. And I guess if I ever make another one, it'll be much like this one, unless I go somewhere I haven't gone before. So you never know. If depend on your plane and the weather's good, maybe I'll go somewhere else next time. Lake Lure's real close. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, put them down there. I'll try to answer them.